On today's show, we've got a series between the Cavs and the Pacers. Cleveland comes back with a blowout victory in Game 3 in Indiana. Tony East and I are here to talk about all of it on this Locked On Cavs, Locked On Pacers crossover.
You are Locked On NBA crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs. He is, of course, Tony East from Locked On Pacers, and thank you for making one of our shows the first listen of your day today and every day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Make sure you drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, and be a friend. Tell a friend about our shows. Make one of us your first listen, make the other one your second listen. Tony, tonight, or I guess at this point, yesterday, Cavs win Game 3, blowout fashion, 126-104. I thought the story of this game was the Cavs more looking like the Cavs than they did in the first two games of this series. Donovan Mitchell was great. Not that he wasn't in Game 2 because he very much was there, but the Cavs got Evan Mobley back. They got Darius Garland back. They got DeAndre Hunter back. I thought those things made a world of difference for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, their starting five in particular, where they had those three guys together the most often, was fantastic in this game. I thought Jarrett Allen, every time he came on the floor, the game immediately changed for the better for the Cavs, and he was very often sharing the floor with 2, 3, or 4 of those guys. But how it worked to me is the stuff that the Cavs did well in this game was possible because those players were available, right? That zone that the Pacers were just flummoxed by for much of this game. 3-2 adjacent, I would say, but not really because they got the top to move around.
They called it a 3-2 zone. And if you remember, Tony, because this was a new thing, like they didn't run this.
They did it in the series earlier than this game.
They did not run this frequently during the regular season. But if you think back a couple of years ago, and if you are a Pacers fan, you're probably not going to remember this, but if you're a Cavs fan, you will. Evan Mobley's rookie year, the Cavs had Jarrett Allen. They had Lauri Markkanen on the team. Donovan Mitchell was still in Utah at this point. But they ran a zone very similar to this one where Evan was at the top. And that was kind of like the first flash. It's like, oh, this guy might be a defensive freak. And I don't want to say they brought that back, but they brought a similar zone back. And the Pacers in that second quarter scored 13 points. They looked like they had no clue what to do against that defense.
Totally. And at the top of it was either Hunter, and he would not do as much lane coverage, but he was at the top with whoever the ball handler closest was, causing havoc up there. His length was a factor. You could tell the thumb was bothering him. He dribbled with his left hand a lot. Did he make a jumper in this game? It doesn't matter.
He made a three-pointer.
His defense was very good at the top of that zone. And then when Mobley was at the top, he was not just at the top. He was also in the paint and on the blocks. It's like he just covers so much space. And there was even sometimes where it was dually Hunter at the top, Mobley on the bottom, covering the entire baseline because it feels like there's two of them on the floor at all times. That was a big thing in a shift. That was an option for the Cavs. That I guess was an option in Game 1. They didn't really go to it. The Pacers shot the snot out of the ball. Tonight, that zone really flummoxed the Pacers. That was a theme for them at times in the regular season. They got better against zone as the season went on, but at times, especially those second units, when McConnell's out there, not really a shooting threat, Toppin has not shot well this postseason, really. Ben Mathurin shot well recently, but isn't really thought of in that way. You can really gook up the Pacers. Mathurin, I thought, did a good job cracking it at times in this game. Siakam finally did in the fourth quarter, but that zone, I think, was one of the biggest things for the Pacers in this game, that they just couldn't get to it, and it just snowballs. Cavs stop in the zone. They score very easily in transition. They can set their zone defense, and that just keeps going on and on.
Right. That was, what the folks in Cleveland call a Cavalanche for the most part. The entire second quarter was that, and I do wonder, Tony, if the Cavs would have gone to this earlier in the series had Mobley and Hunter been healthy. Like, does Game 2 look different? Because this is not a style of defense the Cavs can play without those two guys specifically. Like, Jarrett Allen is not mobile enough in the way that Evan Mobley is to play at the top of the key like that. And they just don't have other guys that can fill those roles the way that Mobley and Hunter can. So I do wonder if Game 2 is different with those two guys back available. But I mentioned the three guys between Mobley, Hunter, and Garland all back. I thought Evan Mobley was the one that had by far the biggest impact of that group. Like his box score was good, 18 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. I don't know that does purpose to how good I thought he was defensively in this game.
Yeah, amazing, right? He can cover so much ground and guard every player all the time. That was like the only Cavs player that there were questions about for the Pacers side post-game. Most of the questions were focusing on themselves. Why'd you do bad at this, and that? Oh, yeah, Evan Mobley, like, how did he jam you guys up so much? He's just everywhere. Like, I've joked with you a million times. I probably said it on my own show, and this crossover feels like there's two of them a lot of the time, right? He can close out and cover a lot of ground, and so if you're the Pacers, you're always so cognizant of where he is. He's also a monster on the glass, which was a crazy advantage for the Cavs in this game that we'll get to in a second. I think they sprinkled in this zone like very infrequently, but a few times in games 1 and 2. I need to go look back at those possessions and see why they went away from it so quick. Because in game 1, Mobley obviously was available. Like what went wrong, or why they didn't feel like they could sit in it for longer, because they did it every quarter of this game at some point, and it really hurt. And then when they would miss, they would get the board. And then when they would on the other end, if they missed, guess what they would do? They'd get that rebound too. They were all over the glass today.
So the zone the Cavs played in games 1 and 2 was a little bit of a different zone than the one they played tonight. They have played pretty frequently. They're not the most frequent zone team. Miami holds that title and will probably always hold that title by a wide margin. But they this year played a lot of a 2-3 zone. They did this very, very infrequently. They said they had practiced it behind the scenes much more frequently than something that they had done in public, but they wanted to be ready for this moment. I thought it was a brilliant coaching move by Kenny Atkinson to bring this out at this exact time. You brought up the rebounding. The Cavs, I believe, Tony, had 31 second chance points on 18 offensive rebounds. There was one point in this game where the Pacers had 20 rebounds as a team, and the Cavs had 15 offensive rebounds. Like that, to me,
killer.
We can talk about the zone. We will talk about how good Donovan Mitchell was and how Tyrese Haliburton was not a big part of the game for the Pacers. But if you want to look for one number in this box score that I think tells a big story, it's that the Pacers had 37 rebounds. The Cavs had 56.
Yeah, brutal difference. And the Cavs, I believe, 20 more shot attempts in this game. And I've preached that all series. Like, it's the Pacers will be thrilled that they won, but they can't give one of the best offenses in the league that many more attempts to score, right? That's just such a big challenge to overcome. Like, the Pacers shot better from the field in this game. It doesn't matter that you shoot 1.8% better when the other team takes 20 more shots, largely because of those offensive rebounds. Second chance points say the Pacers took 5 shots off of their offensive rebounds. The Cavs took 20. So there's 15 of the shots right there. Various other ways between free throws and turnovers to make up the rest. Like, that is insurmountable, right? That's one of the things I wanted to ask Rick Carlisle about after the game, because not only was it bad, they've talked about it before the games. You can go look at my adjustments tab when I put what players say they need to do better. Both games, someone has said, yeah, we got to rebound better. We got to rebound better. Did not happen at all. In fact, the opposite. They were terrible on the glass in this game. And you can quibble with rebounding being a stat that just kind of reflects misses and makes, but it was the offensive rebounds. Those are Cavs misses that they're just scooping up. It wasn't long rebounds. It was just they were playing hard in lane. Pascal Siakam said it too. 50-50 balls the same way. They were 80-20 balls for the Cavs. They have got to be better. The Pacers do, because they can't give the Cavs this many more chances. It's just untenable.
Yes, 18 offensive rebounds on 58 missed shots from the field is like that is an incredible
almost 1 in 3.
Yes, that is such a great percentage for the Cavs that, and I do think that they felt they had this advantage on Indiana coming into the series, considering the Pacers often try and play that 5-out style, and the Cavs will play 2 bigs, and that is they're going to be at times stretched on the defensive end of the floor, but they do feel as if this is an area where they need to and can, as we saw on Friday night, make up for it and kind of turn the game a little bit into their advantage. I do want to talk about Tyrese Haliburton, because he, coming off of, I don't necessarily know that I would call it a great game 2. He hit the
great
shot of the series, great fourth quarter. I thought the first 3 quarters of that game, he was actually pretty quiet, and I do think the Cavs have done a good job so far in this series keeping his assist total down outside of game 1. In game 2, I think he only had 4 or 5 assists, and tonight he only had 4 assists as well. 5 assists, sorry. So that is something that I thought was a key to this series. But what did you think as you watched the Cavs, what they did defensively against Tyrese? What did you think really worked for them? Why was he so limited?
Yeah, the face guarding from like far from the basket. Dean Wade, his face, I'm glad we're next to each other, facing him like this, so far from the cup. I was like, wow, that's interesting. So on one end, for the Pacers, you're very tempted to say, sweet, 4-on-4. Just go stand somewhere else. It's 4-on-4, lots of spacing. But they didn't make up for that with the other guys. Nembhard was 4 for 9. He was okay. Siakam got going late, but was very pedestrian until the fourth quarter. Miles Turner was awesome early. Didn't carry that throughout the rest of the game. And Nesmith quieter compared to some of the rest of his postseason games. Like, they didn't get enough from the rest of their starters when Haliburton was seeing that coverage. That was part of it. And like you said, all series they've done a good job of like trying to make it so those passing angles aren't so obvious. The skip passes aren't there. And the zone means they're not switching as much. So those matchups he loves aren't as available to him. So a lot of tactical factors, a lot of very specific, like we are taking Tyrese Haliburton out of this play for better or worse factors that I think that's such a unique defense. The Pacers will have to think of a solution. I'm sure they'll try many things to figure that out. Maybe the answer is just Andrew Nembhard be better. But yeah, that's like, you can't have that from your star. You just lose. If Tyrese Haliburton has 4 points and 5 assists. It's like, you just lose.
I thought when the Cavs were not playing their zone defense, because obviously when they were in zone, that is the time when they were not full court pressuring Tyrese Haliburton. They were not face guarding him 94 feet from the basket the way that they were. I mean, I thought Max Strus did a great job of this. But this, Tony, reminded me a lot. And I don't know how much you were able to watch of this, but it reminded me a lot of what the Cavs did against Tyler Hero in the first round, where they were on Tyler Hero. No matter where he was on the floor, somebody was between him and the basketball. And you can say, oh, great, we'll just play 4-on-4. And the Pacers are certainly, I think, better equipped to do that than the Miami Heat were. But playing 4-on-4 might not be as easy as it sounds when one of the 4 defenders is the defensive player of the year. Like, that is the other thing that has
Jarrett
to be
Allen, who
factored
was
in.
great tonight.
Yes,
too.
like the Cavs might be able to take away somebody like Tyrese Haliburton, as good as they did on Friday, while doing so with their third best defender on the floor. And I think they look at that as a huge advantage if they can pull it off. It's a tough thing to pull off, but if they can pull it off, I think that's a big advantage for them.
I think in a second we need to talk about the Cavs star who decidedly did not have 4 points. He had 4 points like every 2 seconds, it felt like.
Yes, we are going to talk about Donovan Mitchell and his 43-point performance, averaging 41 in the series so far. Next, right here on this Locked On Cavs, Locked On Pacers crossover. Today's show brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is. Playoff season means big performances and even bigger rewards, because DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. It's called, wait for it, They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more, we didn't get that. We almost got it, both in Game 2 and Game 3. Donovan, 48 in Game 2, 43 tonight in Game 3. But anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use code WINGSTOP50, that is WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Of course, terms do apply. Sign up for Dash Pass to unlock this great deal and more exclusive deals all season long. Again, when any player scores 50 or more in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 order and code WINGSTOP50. That is Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms do apply. Thank you again for making this Locked On Cavs, Locked On Pacers crossover your first listen today. And of course, every other day, one of your shows should be your first listen. And Tony, Donovan Mitchell, fantastic in this game. I thought he was great in Game 2. I thought he had a game in Game 2 that was similar to what I've seen LeBron James do in a Cavs uniform in that setting, where it's a must-win game and he does everything you need. They came up short. I thought this game was right along there with it. I was thoroughly impressed. And it wasn't just the scoring. The 43 points, great. He got to the free throw line not as frequently as he did in Game 2. He shot the ball better from outside. He made, I believe, 5 threes in this game, which was a really big deal for the Cavs. If you've been listening to Locked On Cavs, you know how important the three-point shot is. But it was that he did everything. He had 9 rebounds in this game. We talked about how important the rebounding battle was. You know who the leading offensive rebound getter for the Cavs actually was? It was Donovan Mitchell. Him and Jarrett Allen both had 5 offensive rebounds. And that's one of the things you look at and say, yeah, Donovan was great because he was able to put the ball in the basket. But I think that this is just kind of a summary of this guy not only being a scorer, but a complete winner that the Cavs need.
Unguardable tonight, right? And I think one of my favorite Donovan Mitchell micro skills is he sees a double and he just goes right between the guys as fast as he can. It's so hard to trap him and try to get the ball out of his hands because he's so ready to time that little just surge right through 2 defenders. And so a lot of this game, he just used that opportunity to get into the paint or keep the ball moving, set up his teammates. He had the talent around him to make his life just a little bit easier on the offensive end. But I mean, what is this? 91 points now across his last 2 games?
I mean, he's averaging 41 points in this series. I think he had 33 in Game 1. He had 48 in Game 2 and 43 tonight in Game 3. Like, this is a guy that I do think knows, like, he's aware of the noise surrounding him, that he's never been to a conference finals. He's been to the playoffs every year of his career, and he's never won 4 games in the second round. And I think that being down 2-0, particularly in the fashion in which the Cavs lost Game 2, we are seeing peak Donovan Mitchell right now. I don't know what he's going to look like next year. I don't know what he's going to look like next week, but I don't think we've ever seen a better version of Donovan Mitchell than what we have watched these last couple of games. The Cavs have needed him to put them on his back because they're not shooting the ball that well still. Like, they still have, I think, a lot of room to grow in this series. I think that we can say the Cavs looked like the Cavs again, and they did, but they've shot under 30% from 3 in all 3 games in the series. But it didn't matter because Donovan Mitchell just said, it's okay. I got us. And I think having a star that can do that is something that this Cavs team needs if they're going to fully dig themselves out of the 0-2 hole that they built.
I agree. Pacers have just got to be better as a team. Like, I know I just ripped through Haliburton. We just did that part of it, but Mathurin was good for some stretches of this game in the first half and second half. Miles Turner started the game well. They didn't have any consistent performers, period, right? I thought that was very noteworthy after some of these first couple of games.
Who did you think the Pacers' best player was in this game?
Ben Mathurin, most likely. I mean, he was the only guy that I felt for the whole game. Miles Turner got hurt, which very much clouds this because he was their only good. He was their only scorer for 6 minutes of the game to open the game. But Mathurin came in and like found space for three. He was attacking the basket. Actually played decent on-ball defense. They clearly were like, yes, you are our best option on the bench against Darius Garland, which that says something about their bench guards right now. But you know, he played well on both ends. They put him with the starters very often in this game. And this is the second straight game where Nembhard's been, I would say, just rather pedestrian. Clearly something was flustering him. He got the tech, he got the delay of game. So they turned to Mathurin more. He was good. Siakam had his moments in the fourth. Like I said, Turner started well, but like nobody else had a long stretch of like, that's what they need from that guy at this moment. And they got a lot of that in other games, even if it wasn't the same guy all the time that gave them enough to keep up. Tyrese Haliburton in the fourth, Ben Mathurin in the third last game. You know, all that's been important. They were tied after the first quarter today, and I thought nobody on the Pacers was consistent enough. And we've talked about all the hurdles of the stars and the zone and the rebounding. The slow start also was a killer, but you know that second quarter really exposed it when nobody could get anything going for the Pacers. They need any sort of consistency and to find their identity. They weren't fast enough. Their passing wasn't there. There's just so many things I feel like I could go on micro-wise that cost them in this one.
Yeah, I think that the Pacers need to be better. I think the Cavs do feel like, too, they can be much better than they were in this game. So the thing I want to wrap with here, Tony, is what has changed in your mind about this series? Because we are at the halfway point, essentially. We've played 3 games. We'll play 2, 3, maybe 4 more games after this. Don't know what this series is going to end up looking like. I picked the Cavs in 5. That is obviously out the window. You picked the Cavs in 6, which is hanging on by a thread, but still possible. Did tonight's game change the way that you feel about the rest of this series?
I think game 4 will, for sure. Like, if the Pacers can't respond to the problems that popped up today, then yes, I will feel like they should be concerned. Like, I've mentioned this a few times on Lockdown Pacers. Like, the Cavs, like you said, have still not shot 30% from deep in a game in the entire series, right? I think the Pacers have in every game. So that is, in theory, something that is set to change at some point. I think the Pacers are trying to stop the three-point line at the expense of getting a bunch of points in the paint. I can't even find it. 54 for the Cavs tonight. Plus this. I mean, why did this game have so many freaking free throws? But you had the free
Mark
throws.
Davis got a workout in with his whistle, man.
Oh my gosh, it was so.
Because I want to talk about the question I just asked you, but I want to interject here with did anyone say anything on the Pacers side about the officiating? Like, it has been obviously a big point of emphasis with Kenny Atkinson talking about the physicality and some plays being a little excessive that Evan Mobley got hurt on, that DeAndre Hunter got hurt on. After a win, you don't ever hear those things from coaches. They don't talk about officiating after a win. And of course, the Cavs were not the team that was called for 1, 2, 3, 4 technical fouls plus 2 delay of games. So what was said in Indiana's locker room, or I guess at the podium, about that?
To be clear, the action said something different than what I'm about to say. This person did get a tech themselves for thinking Thomas Bryant got fouled the basket. Rick Carlisle said, "This is not on the officials, 0 to do with the officials. This is us not playing with enough presence, posture, and disposition, whatever you want to call it," which is what I just said. Nobody played well for 48 minutes at all. They've been trying very hard to make this not a ref storyline series. They did it at practice earlier this week. They did it again tonight. Obviously, some moments that frustrated them. I think Nembhard specifically was clearly, whatever it was, if it was Max Strus, if it was officiating, if it was his own play, was frustrated by something. Thomas Bryant got a text subbing out of the game. That you can't have that. You know, Rick obviously got his from that Bryant play. So maybe they were, whatever the synergy was there. Clearly some frustrations. I don't know if it was about more than just the one play or whatever, but yeah, I think I thought it was very interesting that fans on both sides that I interact with frequently all hated the refs. Regardless, does this change my outlook on the series? Not really. I think a lot of Pacers people think the Pacers haven't played well in this series yet. They had a great first quarter of the first game where it looked like they set the tempo and their identity pretty well. They obviously closed game 2 with 3 excellent scoring quarters, but has it felt awesome or like Pacers basketball to a real extent yet? But after game 4, if they don't have a solution for the rebounding, if they don't have a solution for the zone or one or the other, or Tyrese Haliburton can't get anything going again, Siakam's been very slow putting points on the board the last 2 games. If all that continues to be a problem, I think after game 4, I'll go, oh man, the Cavs have something figured out here.
I think if the Cavs look like they did tonight in game 4 and win game 4 in Indianapolis here, they're going to win this series. If they win game 4, I'm at the point, Tony. I think whoever wins game 4 is going to advance to the conference finals. And there will be at least 2 more games to play after game 4 on Sunday if the Cavs do win. But if the Cavs tie this back up at 2 games apiece, they can then look in the mirror and say, we should be up 3-1. We lost the game on a fluke. We have controlled most of this series. At that point, probably 75 to 80% of the minutes in this series, they'll feel like they've controlled. And then you get to go back home to maybe go back up 3-2. But I do think that coming out of this, the Cavs can get to another level. Of course, the Pacers can too. But I think I'm at the point where I probably trust the 64-win team that has not shot the basketball that well to be the ones that gets to that higher level in the series.
Yeah, well, I think if Tyrese Haliburton gets going again, the Pacers will look much different. Has there ever been a series where the road team won every game? I'd have to look at that.
So I was looking this up earlier because the Cavs as a franchise have overcome 3 0-2 deficits, which is more than any team in the NBA.
Wow.
All of those, of course, had some LeBron guy on the team. It was the 2007 conference finals, which everybody might remember. They played in the finals in 2016 and did it, I guess. And then the 2018 conference finals against the Boston Celtics, where it was actually every home team that won the game until game 7 when the Cavs won in Boston. So I don't know if there's ever been a series where every road team has won the game. But this is I think both these teams are in a very interesting spot in game 4 Sunday night right here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, going to be the biggest game. And I said this before game 2. I said this before tonight's game. I will say this before Sunday's game. The biggest game in this era of Cavs basketball to date, and certainly big on the Pacers side as well.
Yeah, they think they can do it. And look, I don't want to get anybody ahead of ourselves, but I think both teams are looking at what's happening on the other side of the bracket too and going, oh, opportunity potentially available. Pacers need to be better. Cavs certainly think that they can be better and will shoot better at some point in this series. Lots more to come. We'll be crossing it over after every game. And please check out our own shows. Anything else, Danny?
I don't think so. I don't think you need to be better as long as you made one of these shows. Whatever feed you're listening on, Locked on Cavs or Locked on Pacers, your first listen today and every day. Make the other one your second. You're going to want to hear what Tony has to say about this game if you're a Cavs fan, or you might not want to hear what I have to say about this game if you're a Pacers fan. I don't know. But make whichever show you're not listening to right now your second listen today. And if you're watching on YouTube as we get out of here, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest content from us. We will be back on our own shows a little bit later. We will be back together after game 4 on Sunday night.